Well, I'm back at it. Guys, I'm moving again and everything is an absolute mess. To include the flight sim. Guess what? I'm tearing it down. And I may sell it, I may not. I might just take it with me. But it's all got to come down. So I wanted to talk to you guys about what I would do differently now that I'm tearing it all apart again. And I'm kind of thinking to myself, what would I do differently if I had to do this all over again? Because I am going to have to do this all over again. All right, so number one, I think the Yoko. Not that there's anything wrong with the Yoko. This thing is amazing here, but it's expensive. All of that stuff is expensive. I really like the Vernio. That one's same family. They both came from Virtual Fly, but I think I would maybe stick with, I like that. I think I would do that again. This I don't think I would do again here. This is a great piece of merchandise, but it's expensive for what it does. I think you can accomplish the same thing with a honeycomb or even the LG. I honestly think they both work pretty much just alike. But if you really like the feel of a high quality, extremely durable flight control, this thing takes care of that. The LG feels like here's the one that I'm talking about. Let me see. I got it over here. That one. The LG feels like Fisher-Price. It feels cheap, okay? It does not feel great in your hands. But this thing here, solid as a rock, but expensive. But that said, you can get the same deal job done. All right, what else would I do a little bit differently on this thing? Probably would not do these. The G5s are great, but they're not even in the right spot. They're kind of off-center. I would prefer to have them in the six-pack right here, where they're supposed to be if you were to have them, or at least have one in like a standby position over here, where I'm still using a primary flight display the way that it should be used, right? But they're just kind of out of the way. They're expensive. If you have Air Manager, you can get the $20 versions of them and have them right here centered in the middle of here for a lot less money, and they're in the right spot. So I don't remember when I first started this project a few years ago. That may not have been an option, or I just didn't realize that it was an option. All right, let's talk about something else I would do a little bit differently here. Let's get under the desk, and that's where all you guys want to be. Under my desk. All right, see that gray thing with the grates? That's a wire, that's actually there for wire management, cable management. And it's a pain in the neck because this, all the wires, you have to set all the wires up upside down. Now this thing comes off from the bottom, which means if I ever need to get in there, I have to pull the bottom piece off here, and then where do all the cables go? They all fall out. All right, not a great situation. If I had to do this all over again, what I would do differently is get, there's a cage kind of thing that you can do where it would kind of sit off the back side of this here, and it would actually just take up, it might take up a little bit of space in the back here, but it's like a big cage bucket. Basically, you just throw all your cables in there, but you'll have access to them. That's good. We want access to all that stuff, right? So that's good. All right, what else do we have here? Lights, cameras, whatever. I'm trying to think what else I would do differently. If you're going to make a dedicated desk, it doesn't have to be a stand-up desk. I probably would, if I was going to make this my dedicated flight sim desk, I probably wouldn't do a stand-up desk again for the flight sim. It doesn't have to be a stand-up. It doesn't, like you're never standing up because you have to have your feet on the frickin' pedals. So you don't really have to do it that way, okay? What else do we have here? The way that this is set up, honestly, outside of the G5s being where it's at, this is a pretty good setup. I actually really like this. So that was a pretty good idea there. I don't like that this is, I really love Stay Level Avionics. This is like just the most amazing, most badass panel that you could get. You can't get them like this anymore. But once all the stuff is there, it's fixed. It's all just in there. That's the way it's going to be. It's never going to change. It's never going to be any different. You can't really change it up and do something different with it, right? I think if I had to do this again, I would figure out a way to be a little bit more modular. I do have a modular piece here that I can swap out. I could swap the entire right side of this out with a GTN 750 if I wanted to. Although I've never done that. Why? Because it's a pain in the neck to take all this stuff out and change everything out. And then I got to buy a GTN 750. With the 530, 430 combo works just fine. Okay? So why? The pedals. I probably, again, for the same reason, the pedals, those are expensive pedals. I probably wouldn't do those again. They're a little bit tight. I like them. They're great. They're highly durable. They're crazy amazing, but probably a little overkill as far as the price goes. All right, so overall, what would I be doing a little bit differently? I'd probably try to minimize costs a little bit. Back to the G5s, we'd lose those. I'd probably get lesser expense. I'd probably go with honeycomb if I could, but honeycomb won't fit in here, so I can't even try it with this particular panel. This particular panel includes the Yoko, that fits in there, and so does that LG that I was looking at before. Honeycomb you could do, it just wouldn't be with this panel. So it's got a slight, I believe it has a slightly different fit in there. Other than that, this looks not bad the way that it is. There's not a lot to do that would be completely different. So overall, I really like this desk. I'm sitting there thinking, man, you know, there's not that many different things I would do differently. Oh, there's the this thing over here. That's the pedestal that was sitting right here with the TPM on there. I might, if I had to do this again, if I was going to recreate this, I think I would recreate it with a little more flexibility with a stick. I'd get a stick so that way I could set it up as an RV10. I might try to set it up a little more low profile. I'd definitely still use Air Manager, possibly Altimeter Motives. Has like an overlay that is really good to be used with Air Manager on a touchscreen panel as well. That would work seriously well. There's so many different things that I want to do that might be a little bit different. I think I'd try to set it up so that it would work with helicopters, any stick flight controls so that it flies like a helicopter, and then I'd get a what do you call that? The collective on the left side over there so that you could fly helicopters and VR. So that way you could fly around in VR. I think that would open up a lot of opportunities, but still make it so that you could swap all that stuff out with a regular yoke if you wanted to fly like a Cessna 172, okay? I think that would be it, and then just keeping a modular system about this, I think that's what I would do differently. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this. I love my system, and let me know. Is anybody actually interested in buying this off me? Throw a comment down below. Let me know what you think. All right, catch up with you guys later. See you.